to protect yourself and defend yourself. That's an inalienable right. The right to not be tortured, the right to speak freely and so forth, the freedom of the press, being able to disseminate information freely. These are rights that you have that they can't take away because they're inalienable rights, and they'll try to take them away using laws and statutes and so forth. Usually statute, not law. But the idea is, people are waking up. And see, the news is good, guys. People are starting to figure out that, Congress has a 5% approval rating. There's stats that say that 62 or so % of the people are starting to figure out the government is the problem, because what they do is they create a problem and then they try to give you solutions. And how they do that is very simple. They indoctrinate you. They use terms like safety. Oh, right. And then talk about the Social Security right there. Social Security, safety, right? The Social Security cliff is coming. It's in sight, right? It's not gonna, Social Security isn't failing tomorrow, but it's coming. Okay, and I don't often agree with Mish, but at the same time, I find this, I'm on the same page with this, that non-marketable IOUs and this whole concept, the Ponzi scheme of Social Security, it's gonna fall apart. And what you're gonna see here is that retirees are gonna outlive this, trust fund. And that whenever they talk about it, it's just, good ways to confuse and trick you, because most people can't do the math. I don't understand the math. And then the whole concept we'll get into about talking about schools and the reason why they indoctrinate. They're not there to teach you math. They're not there to make you understand world history. They're not there to enlighten you. They're not there to make you able to find information and knowledge for yourself and be able to read and compare and rational and critical thought. That's exactly not what school's for. That's what they say it's for, but that's exactly not what the ends. And the government gets what it pays for. The whole dumbing down of America and so forth, that's not an accident. All right, so safety and security. Anytime they start talking about security, and then they'll try to wrap it up in it's child porn, or it's this, or it's that, right? They're trying to save you from trying to save you from yourselves, or trying to make the kids safe. That's not what it's about. Or they're trying to, that it's not right that you download music and so forth. It's not what it's about. If they want to control Bitcoin, they want to control BitTorrents and so forth, but not because they want to try and get money from you for the movies. It's because of this right here. Read this article about the internet is being slaughtered in the back room. That's the first article. But the second is that printable 30-round AR magazines are now available for download. That's what they're trying to control. They're trying to control information. They're trying to control because information now can be turned into physical things. Magazines, guns, Glocks themselves, 3D printers, right? Auto parts. Start using your imagination and think of all the things that a piece of software, do I have it here? I don't have it handy. Anyway, I have a little tiny jump drive that holds 128 gigs. On that, you could put all kinds of information that they don't want you to have, right? Okay, the idea is to control the flow of that information so it can't get from me to you. If I know something that they don't want you to know, or if somebody else has information, more than likely it's not me. Somebody else has information that we need, or that I would like to have, that I can't get it in solid form and so forth, right? But now this is why you see a lot of the smear campaigns and a lot of the attack poodles have come to naught, because now we can, the information is in black and white and we can share it. You can get the documents, you can get it. It's no longer, they can't just say, oh, it's conspiracy theory, because now they can put the documents down and say, no, it's not conspiracy theory. Here it is in black and white. Here is the document. Here's the proof. Here's the proof of what I'm saying. Okay. For gold, for example, right? It will take the Fed 7 years to deliver 300 tons of German gold. Why do you think there's no audits in Fort Knox? Why do you think that, right? They're not supposed to return it in 7 years. We were supposed to have the gold, and if they ask for it, we should be able to give it back. We don't have it. That should be absolutely clear. You think gold and silver isn't going to go through the roof? You are fooling yourself. And then this one at school sucks, the American way. This is how they do it. Okay, again, your history. Read your history. Going back into the Prussians. This is a great, right? Again, dumbing down of Americans. So the idea is that we don't want kids out there with free thought and knowing that maybe they don't want to go out and shoot guns for the corporations and governments that tell them to go shoot guns for them and go do their bidding and so forth, because you wouldn't want to have people with their free thought and understand. So what do? They came up with a system for indoctrination. And see, they had a more altruistic idea, is that we would use our school system to enlighten and inform when it came to the freedom of the press and our Constitution and civics and the knowledge that our founding fathers had about trade and about, because they were actually fairly enlightened men when you get right down to it. But, about Republican form of government, about self-governance, and about self-governance. When I talk about it's literally self-governance, like meditation and enlightenment and being able to read philosophy and history and so forth. that was the idea, but it has been perverted into the Prussian idea of making people that are fit to work in corporations and factories and fit to to be cannon fodder. That was the idea of schools, that you unquestion, that you start corporatism and so on. That is what our schools have morphed into. And a lot of people, my mother was a teacher and so forth, and she understood the concept of schools being used to socialize and make us more homogenous and so on. But to say that, Susie Cream Cheese down there who's trying to teach kids, in preschool and so forth is an evil person, that's not the case. But they're part of a machine. And see, we have this thing called gradualism and what's the other thing that they use is compartmentalization, where we have here is all your departments. I have the big picture. But when you're in one of these little boxes, you don't understand what everything else is going on there. This is how the CIA operates and keeps safe. This is how they do, the bigger operations like 9/11 and right where one hand doesn't know, right? They just each little piece. But now we're starting to have the whistleblowers come out. Same thing. When it comes to like even making the atom bomb, there are plenty of people working on the atom bomb, but they're each little portion of it, and they kept it a secret that way because you only knew your little part. You didn't know the bigger thing was that we're going to drop a bomb on Hiroshima. So these are the tools that you use, and you need to become aware of it. You need to educate self and then educate others. And here's a couple of great little quotes. Everything is new if you are ignorant of history. That's why ideas that have failed repeatedly in centuries past reappear under the banner of change to dazzle them and sweep them off their feet. That's Thomas Sowell. You guys should know who Thomas Sowell is. Very an American thinker. And then here's I'll put the thing on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart. I finally got a direct link to that. That's good. The idea here, folks, is that he goes off on this whole tangent, this whole charade, not tangent, this whole rant on drunk driving and how we managed to, lower it by 2/3 and how we went after drinking and how we made, bartenders that overserved and so on and so forth. So exactly, John. We went after the alcohol, the drugs, the problem. We didn't go after the cars. Same thing with gun control. We don't go after the guns. We go after these prescription drugs. We go after, right? We start taking a look at mental health. We start looking, right? This is why the debate is good. And what you're seeing now is that it's backfiring on them all over the place. People are not for gun control. And even the little things, and I get it. I do get it, okay? Because I want to say in the same breath, one, take a look at what happened in Portugal, the decriminalization thing, right? Just because they decriminalize whatever it is, heroin or meth, doesn't mean that now I'm going to go, well, I'll try it. And neither are you, and neither are your kids. But if your kids do try it, do you want them in prison forever? Do you want them to be making helmets and materials for war at a nickel an hour, or do you want treatment for these guys? Right? Every time the government comes up with a solution, it's no solution. The war on drugs, more drugs. Right? The war on poverty, more poverty. Right? They do not offer us solutions. They fail every single time. Voluntarism. We are the ones that will come up with the solutions. And the government is so far behind the times when it comes to like decriminalizing drugs, when it comes to marijuana, when it comes to hemp, when it comes to whatever it is. And their solutions are no solutions. And the way they get it, again, through the schools and so forth, they get you to, through the media, to look to them for solutions. Then they create a crisis, and then they give you a solution. They're going to create a huge crisis coming up. There is a huge crisis. The collapse of our currency is going to be huge. And they're going to want for all of us to look to them. Please save us, right? For us to look to them for solutions, instead of you being self-sufficient and understanding what's coming. Anyway, but be of good cheer. Look, there's good things going on all over the place. Germany, look at this. German power tumbles to record low as solar damps demand, because their solar is so much, like I think 51% of solar generation is now in the hands of the people instead of corporations. That off-site generation, that whole centralized generation that they can charge you for and so forth, that's the old paradigm. The new paradigm is self-sufficiency. So that whole thing about wind energy, again, that's off-site and the centralized corporation. No, you want to have corporations that sell you the means to make your own power. So devices that, a $5,000 device that would generate all the power you need for your house. That's in the works, guys. But they're trying to keep that from you. Just like they're trying to keep solar from you. Just read this article and think about, the big oil companies that are owned by the big bankers. They don't want this. They don't want you damping their demand. They want you to consume. They want you, right? Okay. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is you silly people that just cannot understand the Constitution and your inalienable rights. The fact that the Second Amendment shouldn't apply because of the musket concept. Okay, muskets. It makes me crazy. Okay, So back in the day when there were muskets, the people had muskets that were just as powerful as the government's muskets. In fact, the people of the United States that were just citizens and not military, right? Because the regulars in the British Army, their guns weren't as good as our guns. Our guns were actually better, more accurate. We started fooling around with, read your history again. Started fooling around with the concept of interchangeable parts, rifling the barrel, getting range, getting right, more power, more distance. And we beat them. We kicked the pants off of the most powerful empire on the planet at the time. The British Empire was a force to be reckoned with, make no mistake, and they could not believe that they lost to us. And we fought them to a draw in 1812 and so forth. Okay, so no, the idea was that we would have the same amount of power as the government would have. That's the idea. Never mind muskets. Okay, now we have guns that shoot many rounds at a time, and it's more right. And the technology has, but the Second Amendment still applies. Doesn't matter if it's a musket or the new guns. That's the idea, is that the citizenry would have the same force as the government. Just like with the First Amendment, just because we're pushing out literally a printing press where you got to press out and you get one document at a time, doesn't mean that it doesn't apply to printing presses that do 50 documents at a time or 1,000 documents at a time, or make newspapers by the thousands now in presses that, right? Oh, it shouldn't apply. The First Amendment shouldn't apply to that because it was only meant to apply to when they press out one at a time. That's your same logic and reasoning. That's how your brain. Your mother was a hamster and your father smelled of elderberries. You have no common sense or the ability to reason or think. The Constitution still applies when it comes to torture. And see, the whole thing where we got Brennan going to be the head of even the fact that they would consider to have a guy like that to the head of the CIA. Come on, people. Do you understand that torture? We were fighting the British Empire. We fought the Nazis. We fought, the Germans before that in World War I. We weren't allowed to torture or to get information with enhanced interrogation. We don't want to call it torture. We call it enhanced interrogation. George Washington told his troops, "You will not, right? You will not abuse these men. They will be treated well when he captured prisoners." And now we got guys like Brennan going, "Oh, well, no, you get good information if you use torture." And if you think that the guys that are going to be put into power like that aren't going to use those techniques on you and me, if they have the chance, if we let them, they will. Right? If you think that they're going to go to other countries and abuse and destroy like we did in Iraq and Iran, and, well, we haven't done Iran yet, Afghanistan, Vietnam, Libya, Yemen, name it, just going on and on. Pakistan, all the different places that we've been around in South America, Latin America, all the things that we've done down there in Guatemala and Honduras. Oh my goodness! You think that eventually that's not going to come home? That the men that think like that will think that it's not okay to do it in the United States on us? Right? It's slowly but surely we're moving that way. In fact, actually, it's not so much slowly but surely. It's starting to accelerate. NDAA. So on. It's starting to accelerate, and you people need to educate yourselves and see nothing's new. It's not different. This is the same thing that happens every single time. These men cannot wield the power. They're not enlightened. They do not understand how to wield this authority justly. Never have, never will. Therefore, we had documents like the Constitution to restrain them, and what they've done is worked around it consistently. And this is why some people are so fanatical about not allowing them to do anything. Right? But I agree with the concept of going after the drugs. Right? I believe in decriminalization because you look at what happened in Portugal. Like I said, by every metric, that was a success. But I don't believe that if you've got you're on antidepressants that you should be allowed to have a gun too. And I agree that the government will abuse the power because they don't have the common sense to be able to make the calls. They'll make blanket